the world thought it was all over. That Dylan Wang had moved on. That Miles Wei had said his final words. And that Shen Yue had closed that chapter for good. But what if I told you that everything changed in one secret meeting that was never meant to happen? What if I told you that what Dylan and Miles said behind those closed doors could rewrite everything we thought we knew about their tangled past with Shen Yue? Stay with me till the end, because what happened next left even their closest friends in total disbelief, and fans are still trying to process every single word. It began quietly, on an overcast evening in Shanghai, where the city's rhythm slowed under the drizzle. Dylan Wang arrived first, wearing a low cap and a dark jacket, avoiding the eyes of anyone who might recognize him. He sat in the corner of a quiet rooftop lounge, his expression unreadable, his phone untouched on the table. Minutes later, Miles Wei walked in, equally disguised, his steps calm but heavy with something unsaid. No cameras, no managers, no fans, just two men who had avoided each other for months finally coming face to face. At first, neither spoke. The silence between them was thick, charged with memories of everything that had gone wrong, the interviews, the whispers, the fallout over Shen Yue. Miles finally broke it. He looked Dylan straight in the eye and said softly, "You never understood her." The words cut through the air like a spark. Dylan didn't flinch, but his jaw tightened. "You think you did?" he asked quietly. Miles sighed, his voice steady but heavy with frustration. "I didn't have to. I listened to her. You kept trying to fix her." For a moment, Dylan looked away, his fingers tracing the edge of his glass. The rain grew heavier outside, tapping against the windows like a drumbeat echoing their silence. "You don't know what it was like," Dylan finally whispered. "Every time I tried to talk, she shut me out. I thought distance would make it easier, but it only made her colder." Miles leaned forward. "Maybe she wasn't cold. Maybe she was scared. You think she's strong, but she's been breaking for a long time." The room fell silent again. Both men had said too much and not enough at the same time. Then Dylan reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was old, slightly creased. He placed it on the table between them. "She wrote this before she left," he said. "I found it after she stopped answering my calls." Miles hesitated, then opened the note. His expression shifted slowly as he read, his eyes scanning each word with growing disbelief. The note wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter. It was heartbreak written in quiet lines. Shen Yue had written, "You taught me how to dream again, but I kept waking up alone. Maybe we were meant to meet, but not meant to stay." Miles folded the note carefully and looked up at Dylan. "You still love her, don't you?" Dylan didn't answer immediately. His gaze drifted toward the window, where the city lights reflected against the rain. "Love doesn't end just because people walk away," he said finally. "It just changes shape." That moment hung between them like suspended air. For the first time, Miles saw not the confident actor the world knew, but a man carrying the weight of everything unsaid. He leaned back, taking a deep breath. "If you mean what you just said," Miles murmured, "then do something about it. Don't just sit here waiting for the right moment. Sometimes the right moment never comes." Something shifted in Dylan's eyes, a quiet realization, a silent decision. The tension between them began to fade, replaced by a strange, mutual understanding. They were never rivals, not really. They were two men trying to make sense of a story that had never found its ending. The following morning, fans spotted Dylan at the airport, alone, carrying only a small bag. Photos leaked online within minutes, showing him looking more determined than ever. No one knew where he was going, but theories spread like wildfire. Some said he was flying to meet Shen Yue. Others believed he was finally ready to face her and tell her the truth that had been haunting him all this time. Meanwhile, Miles stayed quiet. But 2 days later, during a live interview, he broke his silence with a single, powerful statement. "Sometimes," he said, "it's not about who wins her heart. It's about who finally sets her free." Those words exploded across social media. Fans flooded comment sections, trying to piece together what had really happened during that secret meeting. Some believed Dylan had confessed everything. Others were convinced the note was a final goodbye. But deep down, everyone knew this wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something that would unfold in the days to come. A week later, Dylan was seen in a small seaside town, far from the noise of fame. Witnesses claimed he met someone near the shore that evening, a woman wearing a white scarf, her hair tied back, her voice soft but steady. They said they didn't argue. They didn't cry. They just talked for hours until the sun disappeared behind the waves. When Dylan returned, he looked different, calmer, lighter, as though something had been lifted from his heart. And though he never publicly confirmed what happened, fans could feel it. The silence between him and Shen Yue wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful. Back online, the footage of Miles and Dylan's secret meeting resurfaced, and people began to see it differently. It wasn't about rivalry or drama. It was about two people finally understanding each other in a world that had pushed them apart. And so, the story came full circle. What started as tension ended in truth. What began with pain ended in clarity. Because sometimes, closure doesn't come with answers, it comes with acceptance. The air in that quiet cafe was still heavy from the first half of their conversation. Miles Wei's words still lingered like smoke, slowly fading but leaving behind an ache neither of them could escape. Dylan Wang sat across from him, his hand wrapped tightly around his coffee cup, the steam rising between them like a silent witness. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was loud. You could hear the clock ticking on the wall, the faint hum of the city outside, the sound of something unspoken pressing against their hearts. Finally, Dylan broke the silence. His voice was softer now, trembling between pride and pain. You think I never took her seriously, he said, but you never saw the nights I stayed up wondering if I should tell her how much she meant to me. You never saw how scared I was to lose her. Miles leaned back, his face calm but his eyes searching. Then why did you push her away, Dylan? Why did you let her believe you were fine when you weren't? She waited for you to say something, anything, and you just let her go. Dylan looked down. The truth was heavier than he imagined. He could still remember Shen Yue's eyes the last time they met, filled with quiet hope, then disappointment. He could still hear her voice asking one last question he never answered. But then came the twist no one expected. Miles reached into his jacket and placed a small envelope on the table. It was old, folded too many times. She wrote this, he said quietly. She never gave it to you. She told me if anything ever happened, I should be the one to make sure you see it. Dylan froze. He hesitated for a moment before picking it up. His fingers trembled as he opened the letter. The words inside were simple. She had written that she understood his silence. That maybe love wasn't about possession or grand promises. Maybe it was about timing, and theirs had never been right. But she wanted him to know that even when she smiled for the cameras, a part of her still carried him quietly in her heart. Dylan's eyes filled with emotion. Every word cut deeper than the last. He whispered, "Why didn't she tell me this sooner?" Miles sighed. Because she knew you weren't ready to hear it then. And maybe you're not even ready now. The air between them grew heavier. But something in Dylan's expression changed. It wasn't regret anymore. It was realization. He stood up, looking straight at Miles. If there's one thing I've learned from losing her, he said, it's that silence can destroy more than words ever could. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing, and that fear made me say nothing at all. I can't make that mistake again. Miles nodded slowly. Then what are you going to do? Dylan took a deep breath. I'm going to find her. The next scenes moved like a movie. The camera would follow Dylan leaving the cafe, the night air washing over his face, headlights flashing past as if time itself was racing against him. The city seemed alive, whispering echoes of her name. He reached the airport. Fans who saw him that night later posted short clips online, Dylan standing alone near the gate, phone in hand, staring at the departure board as if searching for a name that no longer appeared there. One post went viral overnight. It read, "He looked like a man chasing a ghost." The next morning, social media exploded. Hashtags like hashtag Dylan and Shen Yue and hashtag the letter trended for days. People began speculating about the letter, the meeting with Miles, and whether Dylan would ever get the closure he'd been denied for so long. But just when the public thought it was over, something unexpected happened. Shen Yue herself appeared at a film premiere weeks later. The lights were bright, cameras flashing, and in one corner of the red carpet, Dylan arrived unannounced. The crowd went wild. Reporters screamed questions. Neither of them answered. Instead, when their eyes met, time seemed to stop. No one knew what they said to each other that night. But someone standing nearby claimed to have heard Dylan whisper, "I'm sorry I took so long." And she smiled, a small, quiet smile that said everything words never could. From that day on, fans started calling it the silence that spoke. Even Miles, watching from afar, felt something shift inside him. He realized that maybe this was how it was always meant to end, not with blame, but with understanding. The story wasn't about who was right or wrong anymore. It was about two people who finally found the courage to speak, even after years of silence. In the end, Dylan's final words in a later interview summed it up perfectly. Sometimes, love doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be real. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with someone who still believes in second chances, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional fictional stories that will leave you speechless.